Hi, this is Michael Uslan. You're listening to Batman on Film.
I'm vengeance.
I have given a name to my pain.
The Batman.
Always waiting for some Batman to save you.
It's simple. We kill the Bat of Gotham. I'm Batman.
Welcome to the BOF Chronicles Part 3. I am the host and senior BOF contributor, Ryan Lauer. Batman on Film is the host as well as a member of the Batman Podcast Network. Just go to batmanpodcastnetwork.com for a whole list of other Batman-related shows and other nerdy shows, including one from my guest here's son, recently added to the network. Just go there and give them all a shot. Now, I say my guest here because he's almost the host himself. He is the editor-in-chief of Batman on Film. He is the gumbo cooking champion of the Dallas, Texas area, Mr. Bill Jett. Ramey, Bill, how the hell are you?
I would say that I'm the gumbo cooking champion of the state of Texas.
State of Texas.
So, so anyway, no, I'm good. I'm good. And this is not my show. This is yours. So I enjoy being the interviewee.
Yeah.
A lot of times and just discussing. So
It's less homework on your end.
yeah,
Just sit there and answer the questions.
sure.
That'll work.
I know the answer. Yeah, I already know the answers.
You know the
so
answers.
I don't have to do any. I don't have to study. Yeah.
Now, last time that it was a couple months ago, we did part 2 where we explored the Batman Begins era on Batman on Film. And I brought back something that you guys had done for a while on podcasting as a warm up of how have you been Batmaning lately?
Oh, let's see. You know what? I've been tweaking my office quite a bit. I know you may be able to see it, but I mean, this is audio only.
Over
Let's
your
see.
shoulder. Yep.
Yeah,
I see
I've got Batman Year One. This was a commercial. I say commercial, an ad in a comic book from back in the mid 80s that was advertising Frank Miller's Batman Year One. And then I have below it the cover of The Dark Knight Returns. And let's see if I can move it around a little bit more. I got Long Halloween right there.
Oh, yeah. That's my
And
jam.
right there is a piece of art I had printed, Lieber Mayhew, Batman versus the Joker. So
Yes.
I've been kind of tweaking things. I'm trying to make some space to get ready for I know since we're less than a year from the Batman, there'll be stuff rolling in. I'm sure we'll get a poster pretty soon. I want to get a theatrical 1-sheet size poster of the Batman and have a place to hang it. So yeah, I've been doing that. And I've been reading the comics and stuff like that. Now my wife announced that Rachel's not very happy with my online shopping because I continue to go like to eBay and I'm kind of looking for certain things. I did a deal I asked, because I've been tweaking the office and I asked Mr. Uslan, I said, what are the top 5 most important Batman comic book covers of all time? And it really, there was one in there that was a given. But I thought the ones he came up with were very interesting.
Very
interesting. Did you happen to see that?
I sure did. And
Yeah.
I could have guessed probably 2 of the 5.
2?
I
Okay.
think. Yeah. I mean, one felt like a definite and another one was like, this one's probably on there. And then,
Yeah.
the rest was just like,
Yeah.
interesting. Did he just have them ready to go?
Boom.
Of course.
Boom. I asked him, and I mean, literally within less than an hour, boom, he responded, had images and everything and little blurbs about each one. There was 2 of them I could have got. One for sure, Batman 251.
Yeah.
The Joker's 5-Way Revenge. And the other one is from Batman I can't remember the dadgum number, but it was from 1963. It's where the story of Robin dies at dawn when Batman's carrying Robin.
Yeah.
And it's a really groovy, psychedelic type of story. If you ever read it, and even Grant Morrison picked up on it when he was doing Batman R.I.P. and that whole saga, incorporated that into it. So, but the rest, yeah. So, which
it's good. It's debate. Not want to say debatable, but like, man, you can get a lot of responses of people talking about their favorite.
Which two did you?
See, now to think about it, actually, it is Joker's Five-Way Revenge. That's the only one that I felt like that one's got to be on there, right? Because that one's so iconic. But actually, thinking about it now, I don't think that there was another one on there that I felt very comfortable. For some reason, I thought one of the either Batman #1 or Detective 27 was on there, and I'm like, wait, no, that
Detective 27 was not on there. Which is, I have that framed over here, but it is Detective 31 from 1939, and that's that's where the Batman versus the Vampire Part 1 is in, which ends up inspired Batman and the Mad Monk, and it's the Batman, the vampiric looking Batman with the long ears behind a European castle, and the monk carrying coming out of a castle with a victim. Yeah, that's
I love that cover, the original, as well as Matt Wagner did, the cover for his story, and then Alex Ross has done like a heavily inspired version.
There's been a few of those inspired by that one.
It's awesome, but it just surprised me that that's one that he chose. I'm not going to argue with the man. He knows what he's talking about.
Yes, and it's but his reasoning is because what they represent in terms of Batman comic book history. Yeah, it was really cool. So,
and you look at it through those lens, it makes total sense.
Yes.
So, before we hop into our main event discussion, my Batmaning has been the Batman Batarang.
That reminds
replica.
me. Yeah.
Got to get to Walmart. You got to go hunting Walmart, Bill. I've been
how stocked were they when you went in there? Did you have to go to several Walmarts?
No, this day I just hopped in at just getting some groceries quick, and I'm like, I'll go take a look, and there's about 5 or 6 on a shelf. Anywhere that I'd gone before that, I've never seen one. And
can I ask you this? And I know it's just, I mean, it's going to be beside the point when people listen, but what part of Walmart is in the toy section, or do they have, there's an area like in the electronics part. Sometimes they put that kind of those collectible type things, the McFarlane and stuff.
That's where it's going to be, because they're starting to make stores are starting to make the electronics now like almost like the nerdy collectibles section, and that's where this was at. So I know that Peter Vera's having trouble finding them, Ryan Haas is having trouble finding them, and I'd gone and looked a couple times and didn't find it, and then it was just my lucky day. I should have picked them all up and said, all right, who wants them? $45 each. I
am going to, and you know what? Someone would buy it for that. I am going. Don't tell Nancel Rachel. No. I'm gonna look. If you're listening, I'm looking left and right. She's actually at work, but
she's at work.
I'm going to go to Walmart.
Right
as my mother would say, Walmarts with the S on there at the end. I'm gonna go to Walmart and I'm gonna see if they have one, and if they do, I'm gonna buy it.
It's worth it. The Batarang itself is cool. I think the quote unquote stand provided is very cheap. But I think they provided it that way to keep the cost down to the affordable $14. But the Batarang itself is pretty cool, and you can find your own thing to put it on to stand. Sure. So I recommend it. It's pretty cool.
Okay.
Good stuff.
All right. That's awesome.
Let's hop into our next chapter of this series, in which I've been looking forward to it, revisiting and hearing it straight from your mouth of the Dark Knight era. So it's also perfect that we're recording this today on March 4th, because we are 1 year away.
We are.
This is the second or third time that we're 1 year away from the Batman.
Yes. I think this will be it. And also hopefully. A lot of people will have seen it, because I'm sure everyone listening will go to one of the early screenings on Thursday.
Oh yeah.
I used to, back in the day, it was, midnight screenings. They were literally at midnight, to comply with the actual release date. But yeah. And I think I probably would have seen it at a press screening by probably a week or two before, hopefully. So I'm excited. Yeah.
Very excited. So to pick up where we left off last time,
Yeah.
we were all about Batman Begins, exceeding expectations. Warner Brothers was very happy with it. Fans were happy with it. And for you, this was the first Batman actual movie that BOF got to cover from beginning to end. And so where were you at? Remind us, I think we touched upon it last time, but where were you at in the mindset with the site after Begins had wrapped up, like the DVD had come out and everything? What are you thinking? What are you going to do with the site now?
I mean, there was like, I thought, I mean, this is a different era, but there was like, okay, maybe like mission accomplished. Maybe it just becomes like a archive to, everything that happened, the what was it, 7 years between I starting the site and then Batman Begins coming out. But I knew that this was just the beginning. It was obvious after a while that they were going to do a sequel. I mean, the Joker card, and I mean, it was set up, but now Chris Nolan would tell you that was not there. I was not setting up a sequel. I did that. He told me straight up, and it was like, I did that to give fans something that in their heads, the story continues on and they could, take it wherever they wanted. But, it wasn't that long after. I mean, it was essentially a year after that they announced. So they announced Heath Ledger was the Joker, and they gave the name, The Dark Knight. It was going to be called The Dark Knight. So I didn't really have much time to contemplate, because even almost immediately after that, there was already buzz about who will play the Joker, who's Harvey Dent will have to be in this one, and blah, 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 so it was just right back into it.
Right back in. So what do you do as far as posting content on BOF at that time period, where there is that we're far enough after Begins, but we haven't gotten an official word of a casting or a sequel or anything like that?
I did post a lot of the scuttlebutt and the gossip, because it was just fun to discuss. It really, casting and whatnot. And so that's something that I kind of steered away from nowadays, posting every piece of gossip. And plus, you got to remember, the internet was way different. Doing what I do was way different back then than doing it now, because there was actually a little more legitimacy to some of the rumors than they are now. There weren't as many sites now. I mean, people throw up a site and put out, bullshit, and then it's picked up and it's just circulated, Twitter, Facebook, whatnot. So I did the gossip game a little bit. Yeah.
How dare you?
I know.
I'm just kidding.
I'm sorry.
So what came first? What was the first big release announcement? Anything that now the sequel train is chugging?
I would say just hearing from people I knew that it was going to happen.
Okay.
I think Nolan, am I right? He did The Prestige after Batman Begins?
He did.
Okay.
Yes.
And I think he did that, the press for that, and of course everybody asked about Batman, and he was coy like he usually is, but it was pretty clear they were going to do it. And then the summer of 2006 came and they announced it. So it was, like I had said, it wasn't much downtime in the grand scheme of things before it's full on again. And then that downtime, quote unquote, was spent who's playing the Joker, who's Two-Face, and where are they going to take this story, and blah, blah, blah.
When they announced it at the time, did they have the title at that point?
Yeah.
When they announced it? Okay. So that came first of the announcement with the title.
That was in July of 2006. I was literally leaving for Comic-Con in San Diego the day it broke. And Comic-Con was all abuzz with Heath Ledger as the Joker, and the title was The Dark Knight. That was a big topic. That was still back when I went to Comic-Con. and I could walk right into Hall H and not
Mhm.
have to wait. There was nobody camping out. That was funny because they did a Superman Returns panel. It was like on a Saturday in Hall H at like 2:30, and just walked right in. Yeah. Anyway,
Simpler times. Simpler times.
and Comic-Con was still nuts back then. Just imagine nowadays. So
they kind of happened roughly with almost like back to back then of the sequel announcement and Ledger as the Joker.
yes, I mean that was basically combined. Yeah.
So here we are, 2006 to now, about 15 years later.
Mhm.
Do you remember what you thought with the announcement of Heath Ledger has been cast as the Joker? Your thoughts, not what you've been hearing, but what you thought.
Never heard a single whisper of him. Never once. I was surprised. I'm sure like everybody was, but I also experienced Michael Keaton being cast as Batman back in 2000. Oh my God, 1988. And so I had tried not to prejudge casting after that.
Mhm.
And the rest is history, really. There's not much, but I can say I was surprised. And I remember all the outrage, the raging Heath Ledger how you cast Heath Ledger. And it was always the people that fans would suggest, and people, and even myself, I'm not going to, you tend to think about or try to come up with like aesthetic reasons why this person should play the Joker, and it was always a longer nose and a, thin. I mean, you heard, it was like Crispin Glover and
did Paul Bettany get it?
Paul Bettany was a rumor. That was a name. That would have been bad, really. But I mean, that wasn't thrown out there. A few others, but it was all the guy that from the pianist.
Oh man,
I'm talking.
I just watched
the
movie with him. Yeah.
Adrian Brody, right?
Yes, there you go.
He was another one that people kept bringing up all the time. And there was a big rumor, and it ended up being Heath Ledger that came out of left field and ended up being brilliant freaking casting, man.
I remember you, in a sense, banging the drum on BOF for trust Nolan, because look what he just gave us, Batman Begins, which many would argue at that point the best Batman movie that we didn't even know we could ever get. And then he just cast this guy who just got probably the most recognition for his work yet in Heath Ledger with Brokeback Mountain. On paper, this stuff sounds good. Like, just trust it. It's going to be fine. It's going to be okay. And we'll get to how that ended up turning out.
I just say a lot of similarities between Ledger and Pattinson and even Christian Bale, to be honest. I think they are elite. They were, in the case of Heath, was an elite actor. Robert Pattinson is becoming an elite actor if he's not already there. Christian Bale is an elite actor. And Christian Bale was more, his casting was more, hell yeah, because he was a fan favorite. It just so happened that it panned out that way in the end that he got the role, but no one suspected Ledger. And now, I mean, it's one of the greatest performances as a villain in cinematic history. Honestly, that's not hyperbole, I don't think.
Well, and according, I think, to even Nolan and maybe even some interviews that Ledger had, they'd met before, and Ledger had kind of said this wasn't necessarily he wasn't interested, I thought. And then Nolan had said that it's always been Heath
he wanted
in his mind for the Joker.
He always wanted to work with Heath Ledger.
Yeah.
And it just so happened that he cast him for the Joker, and it's just fit. It's fit,
Yeah. It's just one of those things of like, man, there's just nobody else I don't think that could fit in that spot. So while Batman Begins was unprecedented territory for you, first Batman movie you're covering for the site, this, you've greased your wheels a little bit, but this
Yeah.
is still something new because you've never gotten to follow a sequel. So in your approach to covering The Dark Knight compared to Batman Begins, maybe was there anything in your mind of like how you want to cover it differently than you did
Yes.
Begins, or maybe
Yeah.
not even mistakes, but
Yeah,
things you did,
mistakes.
you're
I
like,
made a
don't
lot
want
of
to do this
mistakes. Oh
again.
yeah, absolutely. I have a no spoiler policy, but I learned that. I
Mhm.
learned that along the way. And I was still learning that as the Dark Knight was ramping up. And it was during the Dark Knight that I said, I'm done with, I'm not going to do spoilers. I'm
Yeah.
not going to do it. I'm going to try to move away from set picks, things like that, anything that would spoil the movie for anybody. And that's how I've moving forward. That's how I've always done Batman on film. But it was during that period that I kind of had a epiphany, I guess, if you want to call it, and transition into, and I think I have to give Pete Vera credit for this is, Batman on film we won't spoil a movie for you. We will enjoy the ride with you, and
Yeah.
that's how we do it. Yeah.
Peter Vera is a poet. He's
Yeah.
just a poet there up in Jersey.
Yeah.
So as you get, so filming begins for The Dark Knight, as far as how you would get from people in the know information, was it just a continuation with that, or how did Batman on film get legit information to report?
Still in same. I was, I had made relationships with people at Warner Brothers, people that were quote unquote sources who had information or had a conduit into the movie, contacted me because it was known I'm not going to reveal anybody and I'm not going to say anything if they don't want me to say anything. So, but yeah, and it starts filming and we're covering it, and then heck, like late May, they did the thing with it was in May, and they had been filming a short amount of time, and if you remember, they did the whole viral thing, releasing one pixel at a time of the first look of Heath Ledger as the Joker.
Mm-hmm.
And it was right after that Warner Brothers called and said, we're doing a set visit in Chicago. Do you want to come?
So yeah, perfect segue, because if anything, if you'd ever be mad at your own schedule, it was probably in that set invite with Batman Begins.
Yes.
And you said on the last part that you kind of felt, damn, this is once in a lifetime.
Yeah.
And now here they come back. Hey, do you want a set visit? So let's take us through that. Where were you for this set visit? Tell me you were in the gym.
I was, golly, I remember that clearly. Where was I? Think I just, you know what? I just got an email sitting at the computer, actually just sitting at the computer, and I got an email, and it was from one of the Warner Brothers publicists, and said, hey, Bill, I'm taking a group of people to the Dark Knight set in Chicago this weekend. This was like a Tuesday. You want to go? I went, yes, I would like to go. And so we went. I mean, it literally was that quick. Boom, went.
This summer, which was it, June, July, August?
Yes, this would
Not
be.
that it matters, but
it would be early June of 2007. I mean, early June of 2007, because I was on. I would finish the school year and I was on summer break. So, and I mean,
the
just
stars aligned, man.
just
Perfect time.
I don't look, dude. If it could have been right in the middle of a school year, I would have went to this regardless, But yeah, flew out on a Friday, flew to Chicago. The set visit was Saturday, all day, and came back Sunday. So it was 2 nights in Chicago, and it was a full long day on that set. I mean, from maybe we got there at 10 o'clock in the morning and didn't leave until. I mean, this is in the summer, and it's getting to be dusk, because when we left, they had just filmed Gordon running up the stairs of the bank, to come after the Joker bank robbery. They did that. Gary Oldman was filming that over and over again. And, they took us out around and we watched them film it. And then we got on the bus and went back to the hotel.
So yeah, take us through that, since you, in this situation, you're totally green on a set visit for a movie. So how does that work as far as the day, like you get to Chicago and they send you like a lineup of like, hey, tomorrow morning, be here at this time.
Yes.
Then this.
Meet in the hotel lobby at whatever, 8:00 in the morning. And, I knew the publicist by this time, and she came down, and there was probably 6 of us, maybe 7, and we loaded up on a little small shuttle bus and went to the old post office there in downtown Chicago. And they had it was set up like a little mini movie studio. I mean, there were things there that weren't. That's where mainly was like the big part of it was the bank heist, the whole thing. They turned the whole post office lobby into the whole scene you see at the beginning with the Joker bank robbery. And it was still just as you see it after the Joker leaves. I mean, the tail end of the bus is still sticking through the wall, which wasn't really a bus sticking through the wall. It was movie magic. The glass is still over the floor from the shotgun blast at the bank manager when he tried to shoot the Joker. Police tape was around everywhere because they were actually going to be filming in there that day. In fact, they turned a old safety deposit box area. That was the vault. That's where the vault scenes were shot. They shot the vault scenes that day. When Batman shows up. Yeah. And I remember thinking, because I was just amazed by looking at everything, that the vault door was made out of wood. And it's just, I'm like, wow, and they turn, and they turn in, it was a safety deposit box. It became a safety deposit box area for the bank, but it was really just old mailbox, PO boxes for the post office. And that was cool to check out.
So were you given any kind, because at this point, I think a lot of us need a reminder. Yes, we can visualize it now as you're telling us, like, oh yeah, this is where the Joker bank heist happened and the manager shot the shotgun through the window. But you're walking in just like a couple months after filming had started. So you weren't privy to any kind of setup where you just walked into this, you see, this is the set, you've got questions, but they're not necessarily providing answers. Is that correct?
Yes. We had actually, when we got there, there was a big tent area set up outside that was air conditioned and everything. They had tables set up, like folding tables, like 4, it made it to almost like a round, literally that's where the round tables were. And they had a big screen TV set up, and they had props from the movie. They had the bats, the new Batman suit, Heath Ledger's Joker suit. They had images from the film in there. They had the Heath Ledger, that first picture and some other stuff hanging on the walls. And then we actually interviewed a couple of people first who came in. Aaron Eckhart, I remember. And
they're in the post office, like off to the side.
No, yeah, it's off to the side in that press tent area. So we emptied like Aaron Eckhart and maybe Chris Corbold, who was the special effects, or the stunt coordinator, and Lindy Hemming, who was the costumer. So we did a few interviews, and then they turned the TV on, and they're filming that Batman scene, the vault scene, which is what, like 90 seconds?
Minutes? Oh,
is it even that long?
Yeah. I don't even know. Yeah.
It's not long. They filmed that. That was literally like 2, 3, 4 hours.
That's nuts.
And first time I'd ever seen a movie been filmed, because a lot of it, you think that everyone's on the set together and they're just, their dialogue is back and forth.
Yeah.
A lot of times they're just sitting there by themselves and they have someone off camera reading the other person's lines. And I remember that, that kind of struck me. And also between takes with Bell, they would pull the cowl and separate the back open up and have, I'm just blowing air up in there, because it's got to be, it was probably hot as hell. And so they filmed that. Then after they finished filming, that's when we did the tour, we went in the vault and through the bank, quote unquote, the bank area. And then we had lunch with all the cast and crew, with, and it was like a great setup of food. And it was just funny to see people in costume as, cops, and because, Gotham police and all the different extras were there.
Yeah.
For the day. And yeah, it was,
how many times did you pinch yourself?
I
lost count.
I don't even know if I was even conscious enough or self-aware enough to even pinch myself. It was just, it was surreal in a way,
So when you were watching them film that scene of Gordon and Batman, were you just sitting there like, probably a long shot, but I hope we get to interview Oldman and Bale? Or
Yes.
what did you know beforehand?
I knew we were going to see them. Yeah.
Okay.
And Christian came in after they filmed that, and after he came in, and he still had the black makeup around his eyes, but he had on the like Ray-Ban aviator sunglasses, and came in and did his little, did his thing. So, and Oldman wasn't until he came in full Gordon attire. So the stuff you see him in running up the stairs, and also they filmed when he comes rushing in, and all that's left is those few radiated stack of bills. They filmed that scene that day, and with him and Ramirez walking through the crime scene, they filmed that. So what you see him in, especially in that running up the stairs scene, that's what he was wearing. I mean, the glasses, everything,
Did you look at anybody else like that, like any other people in your position, just be like, holy shit.
Yeah.
My God.
and he's speaking now. Bale would speak. He kept his American accent when he was doing.
I was gonna say he did that a lot early on because he didn't want to confuse people.
And I guess he was, immersed in the character that he didn't want to go to his.
Yeah.
And he spoke like you would hear Bruce Wayne speak, and Oldman was, had his British accent. And if you ever hear him speak in his regular voice, it's very soft spoken and very, it's a little more high pitched than the Gordon, where Gordon's a little bit more baritone and American, not sure. Right. He was really, is it kind of a generic American accent?
American.
Yeah.
Kind of American.
So, but he was, he'd pop in and out of accents. I remember with him, because I got to talk to him a couple of times.
So a note for all listeners on Batman on Film, Bill has posted to where you can read all of these interviews, because I read all of them with Bale and Oldman and Eckhart and Nolan, all from that day. So look those up and read them, because those are great. Those are fun interviews of a point in time. So when all this is happening, what are the instructions to you as far as kind of like a warning, or not a warning, but okay, all of this stuff needs to be held until we tell you it can be released? Or how are you informed? All this, we need to sit on it.
Yeah, we knew that it was embargoed, and we couldn't bring cameras, but besides that, there was really no hard rule. If someone asked a question that they didn't want answered at the time, they would just turn to the publicist, Warner Brothers publicist who was there, and they would either give the okay or they give the no. Because someone asked they asked Eckhart about Two-Face, because we didn't know if Two-Face was going to be in the movie yet. We knew Harvey Dent was. And it wasn't me. One of the other ones asked if, is Two-Face in this movie? And he looked at the publicist, and she nodded her head yes. And he said, yes, I've shot scenes as Two-Face already.
And at that point in time, it was not known to the public that Two-Face was going to be in this movie.
It was not. Correct.
Yeah. So that was something you had to sit on and be like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Perk.
It'd been really nice if that had never got out, but it got out. But
yeah.
And part of it, look, part of it was they marketed it with Two-Face. So there was that clip they released in the spring of 2008. It was the bar scene when he comes in and the bartender goes, "Dan, Jesus," and
Yeah.
it was like, well,
I thought you were dead.
I thought you were dead, half, yes.
What?
So, yeah,
That's good. It's good shit. All right.
that was
so,
good stuff. Yeah.
So you leave heaven of that set visit.
Well, there's one story I have to
Okay.
tell,
Go ahead.
and this is how I got in really good favor with the Nolans, was that I left the tent to use the men's facilities inside the old post office. And we had interviewed Emma Thomas and Charles Roven, and yeah, they came in, they came together as producers. Chris was solo, Chris Nolan. So I remember Emma kind of giving me the eye of like, not like checking me out as a dude, but kind of like, is that who I think that I know who that is, kind of thing. And so I get up to go they finish, we get up to go to the restroom, I come back, I'm coming out and I'm in before the tent and she's standing there and I was just keep minding my business. She said, "Are you Jett?" I said, "Yes, ma'am, I am Bill." And she said, "Well, can I tell you something?" And I said, "Yes." She said, "We really like how you covered the movie. We are not going to go to San Diego Comic-Con in July." Because the big thing was, even with me, I was very much lobbying, gotta go to Comic-Con, you go to Comic-Con. And I said, okay. And so that was, I said, "Do you want me to say this or you just tell them?" She goes, "No, it's fine if you say that. So we don't want people expecting us to be there that we're not." She said, "But we were probably going to do something at the WizardCon in Chicago later, maybe a month later." And they did. And I actually went back to, well, it was in August. I went back to Chicago a couple months later for that. Or maybe it was the next year. Yeah, it was the following year. So, so that was like the only con thing they did. And that was that, when was that? Yeah, it was maybe a couple months later. It was still 2007. And yeah, that was, so from then on, I mean, kind of got a mutual respect. And
She sought you out to relay this information.
yes, I mean, they were very kind to me. I mean, I got a lot of access, more access for Dark Knight Rises because of them than I even had for Dark Knight. And they really were very kind for Dark Knight because they did solo interviews with me at the press junket in June of 2008. And
I think we're gonna catch up to that. I won't take too long in getting us there, but I'd like to explore a little bit from when you leave the set visit until, so they released a teaser trailer, which we didn't really see anything except the Dark Knight logo, and we heard some audio, I think in July of 2007.
I was at Comic-Con. I actually was in San Diego. Yes.
And then from then until December of that year was when the first, like, the official trailer was released.
It was in December. Yeah.
So I don't remember, maybe like the trinkets of things released, of where images were released in that gap of time. Do you remember?
Dude, the whole thing in between that gap of time was that viral campaign.
The viral campaign. Oh my God.
Yes. The viral campaign. That was, yeah, everything came from the viral campaign. And hell, I even went out, and this would be like spring of March of 2008. I went to I Believe in Harvey Dent rally in Houston and held up frickin' I Believe in Harvey Dent sign and stuff, did that. And everything in 2007 was all Joker related. Remember all that Joker stuff. and then it switched to the, I believe in Harvey Dent stuff after the following year. Of course, you had, Heath passed away, unfortunately, in January of 2008. But I think that was still planned to shift it toward the Two-Face and being part of the campaign. And then there was also the becoming part of the Citizens for Batman movement and all that, Yeah.
I'd almost argue I was prime age during that whole marketing thing, because I was 20 and 21.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So man, me and friends were just, oh my God. I mean, I'm not saying that you weren't either or anything like that, but we were all about it.
I know. I mean, I was, oh my God. And I was in my, how was I then?
You don't have to age yourself.
I was in my, how long ago? Yeah, I was probably in my early 40s. And I was, oh my God, wow about it too. And I mean, my ass went out and campaigned for Harvey Dent with a sign on the streets of Houston, Texas, for Christ's sake. And God, that was just that whole event, that whole marketing, that Why So Serious campaign, never seen anything like it or since.
Yeah.
To this day.
That's so.
Yeah.
It was so time to look at.
It was so organic.
Mm-hmm.
And such just a happening. And you could feel the buzz start to build for that film as early as, a year before. It just was just a buzz. I mean, it was the second instance of Batmania that I experienced personally. Was 89, and then this. I was too young to remember the Batmania of 66. I was only 1 year old, but I'm fortunate to have been able to see that twice. Mm-hmm. I would love to see it again. It's tough to get there because it's as I said, it's such an organic thing. You can't just conjure up a mania over a film. You can't. It just, if you could, happens.
Everybody would be doing it.
Yes. So correct.
Batman's kind of the only character that we can see has these moments in time of mania on that level. There's something magical with the character.
Yeah.
So that December, they released the
first big trailer.
Yeah, the trailer in front of I Am Legend, but for IMAX screenings, they did the Joker bank heist prologue.
Mm-hmm.
Did you get any kind of early access to view that, or did you have to go to an IMAX screening of I Am Legend to see that?
They did a press thing in LA and just showed the prologue. I was invited, couldn't go to that. That was just logistically, I couldn't make it.
Mm-hmm.
I ended up going to the one for The Dark Knight Rises, but we'll talk about that when we get to Dark Knight Rises. So I think I saw it in IMAX. I probably bought a ticket for I Am Legend and went and saw it and just left. I don't know if I did see I Am Legend, but I don't know if I stayed for it at that time or not. Anyway, but yeah, it was that era, that period of time right there. I mean, it was really, really, really ramping up, and then people just lost their heads when they saw that bank heist scene, that prologue.
Yeah. Unreal. I'll have to share a story with you off mic. I remember that the prologue itself, I couldn't make it to an IMAX. There was nowhere near me. And so I had to scour the internet to find that. And I was blown away.
Oh, I was fortunate enough when I lived down in Houston, actually Tomball, northwest suburb. Everybody gives me shit the way I say theater, cinema right across that I went to was just across the highway back from where my subdivision was. So it was like 2 or 3 miles, and they had an IMAX, so I could see it there. So that was cool.
So before we get to the premiere and stuff, there's 2 things I want to touch on. So first, we slightly touched on traffic, your web traffic.
Yeah.
In the Dark Knight era is where they called you and said you were getting too big for this town, weren't they? Is that what you'd said? Like you need to upgrade something.
I think that was Begins. So,
That was
but
Begins.
yeah,
Okay, my bad.
yeah. But yeah, I mean, it was off the chain, dude. I mean, it's like, I say it again, and we'll see it with the Batman. There's nothing like a solo Batman film.
Yeah.
There's nothing like a solo Batman film that spurs interest, because it spurs interest more than just fans. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
It's something about Batman that brings everyone out of the woodwork, and that was the case for these 3 Batman films I got to cover before. It was the case for. It's the case. I've seen it. I saw a little bit of it this last summer when they with the Batman trailer.
Mm-hmm.
Boom, the traffic goes up, and then you see how many people watched that trailer on YouTube and so forth, and it's just something about a solo Batman film. Just something about it, and that's really what Batman on Film's thing is. I mean, at its core, it's solo Batman movie.
Yeah. How was your relationship with Michael Uslan developing during the Dark Knight era?
It was in its early stages, but I had interviewed him, and it was beginning of our friendship. And yeah, I mean, early stages of it, and got to, I actually, I think I met, no, yeah. I'm sorry. I'm trying to think back. Might've been the first, no, I think I met him at a Comic-Con, but I got to see him at the premiere and so forth. And so, yeah, I'd say it was probably in its little past beginning stages.
Mm-hmm.
I would say, if I had to describe it.
So let's ramp up to the summer of release. The second movie premiere that you've gotten to go to, and this of Batman, and this is for The Dark Knight.
Mm-hmm.
You have interviews posted on BOF, but there's a couple, like 2 things I specifically want to point out. But how was this experience compared to Begins? Was it very similar as far as?
No, it was a whole different animal, man. Yeah,
that's excellent.
Begins was a little more low key.
Mm-hmm.
I actually did not. I went to the junket and did all the interviews and stuff for Begins. I didn't actually go to the premiere. With The Dark Knight, went to the premiere. That was in New York City, but the junket was a whole different thing itself as well. I mean, that's where I brought Rachel. I tell this story. So I'm acting like I'm a big shot, right? So it's we're because I've done this before, right?
Yeah.
And we're in Beverly Hills. That's where it took place, at the Beverly Wilshire Hotel. We get there, and it's the day of the roundtables and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had been there, for instance, the night before. We had seen the film the night before. Then the next day was all the interviews and stuff. And I said, all right, now we're about to get on the elevator to go up to the suite part where they were doing all the interviews. And I said, all right, listen, I said, you're going to see people that are famous. So, kind of like act like you've been here before. Yeah, be cool. And we're waiting. I'm telling her this, Ryan, while we're waiting for the elevator. Literally, as I finish saying that, so be cool. The elevator door opens up, and it looks like there's a lot of people in there. And I said, we'll wait. And guy steps by, and I just heard a voice. No, come on in. And so we walk in, and my back is to the door. Rachel is facing me, and I saw her eyes get like big as silver dollars. It was Christian Bale that said, come on in. And so we go up. He gets out on the floor, another floor. We go up to the floor that's happened. She goes, oh my God, I got to text somebody right now. And so, but she was very cool for the rest of the time. And I mean, she's the one. She sat in the room when I interviewed Emma and when I interviewed Chris Nolan. I mean, she was just literally, it was me. There was no publicist either. It was me, Emma, and Rachel. And then it was me, Chris, and Rachel. And the publicist just brought us to the room and left. And when the time was up, knocked on the door and said, Chris got to go to another interview, or Emma, you got to do another interview. Yeah.
Who was first? Was it you with Emma or you with Chris?
It's Chris.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how did that come about? Because you were advised not to say this is a one-on-one.
I could not say it was a one-on-one. And Chris didn't even know that, which is another funny story. So I guess when I was invited to junket, when you get an invite, you can say, is there any talent you would like to do individually? And usually it's TV stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I know you've seen like Entertainment Tonight, and they're like, there's a backdrop behind the actors, and they're, you know, doing the interview. Those things are like boom, 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 back to back to back to back from different outlets. And so I said Chris Nolan and Emma Thomas, because I had been talking to Emma quite a bit up to that point. We were friends.
Mm-hmm.
And because she would say, what did you think about the trailer? What did you think about this? And so I had no idea. I had no idea I had been okayed. I get there and I'm just preparing, because I hadn't heard anything back, and I'm preparing to do the roundtable stuff. And the publicist, buddy of mine, he said, you excited to talk to Nolan one-on-one? I said, holy shit. And I had to like re-scramble to get my prep that I had done before to have it, because I wasn't expecting it was going to happen.
Was it your announcer Rachel moment?
Yes.
A little
yes.
like, oh shit.
And so, went up there, and we walked, you know, they had it was like a hotel room at the hotel. They just took out all the bed and stuff. So there were like chairs in there, maybe a little table or whatnot. And so we're sitting in there, and you hear a knock on the door. Chris and the publicist walks in, and it was a different one. She said, okay, remember, this is one-on-one, but we're not really going to say it's one-on-one. And Chris said, we don't want to piss off all the other outlets, huh? And she, you know, and left anyway. So that interview is on Batman on Film. It was really fun. It was fun to do. And
it seemed very, very casual. He was very down to earth.
Open
to answer.
The thing I remember, I asked him, I believe it's in there. I'll not confuse it for something else. You know, you've done this with Batman, blah, blah, blah. And he just said, you know, after his experience was essentially, I'm now paraphrasing it, that Batman has become more to him after going through Batman Begins and The Dark Knight than it was before. And when he says Batman, it was more like a person and not a character, a fictional character. It's something that's important. So I remember that. That stands out. Yeah. And then after that was Emma, which was great. And we just kind of talked as, you know, it was more like, just like, well, what do you think about the movie? And I mean, to me, and I'm talking, so she's almost interviewing me, and it's supposed to be an interview with her. So
I really, not that the other interviews aren't great, but I think that one really sticks out, because I think when you look at the length of that interview with Emma Thomas, it might be the longest of all of the interviews, and something that
it was. Yeah, I mean, I was in there with her almost an hour. Yeah,
which is great, and it seems very casual, back and forth too.
It was.
And
yeah.
One thing that she definitely says is, in a comment of like, oh, we were all wondering what you think.
She did. Yes.
And I mean, try and take yourself back to then of like, you have the team that is making The Dark Knight. They were wondering, according to her, what you'd think.
Yeah.
Like, what does that feel like?
I mean, what does it make you? I mean, I was proud.
Yeah.
You know, I was proud that I'd done Batman on Film. I was proud that I ran the site the way that I did. And then there's another story real quick. Well, there's two. I'll tell you real quick. The proud moments, you know.
I bet one of them is going to be what I was going to ask you. So go ahead. We'll see.
Which one? Oldman?
Or
Jonathan Nolan?
Jonathan Nolan.
Okay.
I forgot about the Oldman. So take it.
Okay, real quick, both. So David Goyer and Jonathan Nolan do their little round table together. and it's me and like 4 other people. One of them was, I think none of them were like Batman fans. I know like the girl next to me was like People magazine, some kind of shit like that or something. And she asked like ridiculous stuff. And they're asking questions. So I start asking like legit questions. I'm like, so, you want to know where I got these scars? Is that a nod to The Killing Joke? And I saw Jonathan Nolan, that he heard that question and he almost got this smile on his face, like, cause he's going through all these interviews and he's asking all these asinine questions. He goes, "You got that, right?" I said, "Yeah." Multiple origin, I mean, he goes, "Absolutely it was." So then it became almost like me asking him questions, and David, but he was the one that mostly was participating, and so it was all done. And because I remember thinking, all these people are probably pissed off because he's only looking at me and answering my questions. And that interview, those interviews are up over the Batman on Film as well. And when they were done, he got up and said, "You're Bill, right?" And he shook his hand. I said, "Yes, sir." And he shook my hand. He said, "We all love Batman on Film. Thanks for what you do." Now Gore never said anything to me. So, but
still that.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And then
the
Oldman thing was that he was by himself when we interviewed him. And so after the interview, and that's when I asked him, this was another great question. I said, talking about Heath, he said, I said, "Do you remember the press visit last summer?" I said, "You said that," because he did say this. Someone asked, how's Heath as a Joker? And he said, and he pointed to that poster that was hanging, that picture of just his face, and he said, "This kid is doing something unbelievable and special." And I asked him that. I said, "Do you remember saying?" He said, "I do remember saying that." He goes, and he got this look, this like twinkle, this, like a nice smirk, and said, "I was right, wasn't I?" And so he leaves. That's during the interview. And then he's sitting in a little chair outside the door. And I said, walked out, and I couldn't help it. I mean, I said, "Mr. Ullman, just want to shake your hand." I said, "Great movie, great performance." I said, that scene at the end, your dialogue, at the end, I said, it gave me chills and brought tears to my eyes. And he said, "Oh, that was pretty good." He said, "Do you want to know my favorite part of the movie is?" And I said, "What?" And he said the scene he did with Aaron Eckhart in Dent's office about irradiated bills, and can you find the back? They were trying to can you tell me about your special help or whatever, however way he words it. So that was his favorite part of The Dark Knight that he was involved with.
Wow. So that was a pretty good trip to Beverly
It was
Hills.
a pretty good damn trip. It really was. Yes.
A pretty good one.
Yeah.
I know I knew this was going to happen, to where this was going to be a longer episode because it's The Dark Knight and there's a lot of elements with The Dark Knight and BOF. So I'll encapsulate the release just kind of in one question of what was it like from its release? Like, what was it like covering the movie then when it was finally released?
Biggest thing I've ever covered on Batman Film to this date.
Mm-hmm.
Huge. I mean, just huge. I mean, and I was doing radio in Houston and talking about, it just showed me how big that film was. I had radio stations want me to come on their morning shows and stuff and talk about it. And shout out the old Rod Ryan morning show on 94.5 The Buzz in Houston. I did that show many times. It was a tidal wave, man. It was a tidal wave. That's all the best way I can put it. It was the biggest thing I've ever covered on Batman on Film to this date.
Yeah. Which is crazy to think that at 2008. So where were we at? Like 10 years of you doing since Jett D60s?
Yeah.
10 years.
Literally.
And you, as you said, you didn't even know if people were reading your words.
No.
And now at this point, you're talking to the filmmakers who
Yeah.
are paying attention to your site.
Yeah.
So what a feeling. I
Yeah.
mean, what a feeling.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that we should maybe stop there, and then because I've already got you going long, and we'll pick up for the next part, which will cover Dark Knight Rises. But do you have anything that you want to add about covering Dark Knight covering the Dark Knight for BOF?
That the period from 2004 through 2012 with Rises was the greatest period of for me with Batman on film, not because of the things I got to do, but really to experience that the way I did as a Batman fan. You know, being a Batman fan, you've seen, I've showed pictures of 3-4 year old me in Batman, my little homemade Batman costumes, and growing up as a Batman fan, never and sitting as a 23-year-old in 1989 and watching Batman 89, never did I think I was going to be that intimately involved in a Batman movie, or that, or just in really Batman history.
Mm-hmm.
It's humbling, and it was a once in a lifetime deal. I'm still doing Batman on film. I don't know if it'll happen again, but it was something special. That whole run, and the Dark Knight was the greatest. That period covering the Dark Knight was awesome.
Yeah. It's still really great.
It was
just and read.
It is, and it's just because of the not because of, again, what I did and everything involved, just how much of an event that was for over a year. When you throw in the viral campaign, and then the film. I mean, that's why I've always said, and that's one of the things that makes me say this to this day. I said it yesterday to someone on Twitter, when I made a point, well, we're basically a year out from the Batman, and someone said, oh, I got a year. I said, that year will be here before you know it, and it'll be gone. Enjoy the ride. And I always say, enjoy the ride. This right now is the most fun we'll have, is the lead up to a film. Yes, seeing the film is awesome, but that's over in 2.5 hours.
Mm-hmm.
The buildup lasts a year.
Yeah.
And that's what needs to be enjoyed, because seeing the movie is just a quick boom, and compared to everything else.
Yeah. And you've gotten to experience firsthand how great that ride can be with the Dark Knight.
Yes.
So excellent. Fantastic. Well, Bill, thanks for joining me yet again for part 3 of the BOF Chronicles. It's been a great discussion. Sorry I kept you a little longer than I'd planned. Would you like to plug anything that you've dropped recently on the site?
Oh, I kind of do like that article that really I just wrote it for Mr. Michael Uslan. His top 5 most important Batman comic book covers of all time. So check that out. Did a social hour last week. You can check those out. I'm trying to do them at least, every other week for sure. Some are videos, some are just audio only podcasts, whatever. And I would just say, read all the stuff on Batman on Film, not just plugging me, but reviews, everything that's coming out. And follow me on Twitter. Follow me, Jett, Bill, on Twitter at Batman on Film. If you want to follow just just news, it's links to our stuff we have on Batman on Film, that's at the Batman on Film. You won't get my wonderful commentary at that Twitter page.
Well, then why follow that one?
That's what I
say. For me, go to Batman on Film. Follow me on Twitter at Lauer_Ryan, Lauer spelled like lower. I've got a bunch of reviews, including the most recent Batman issue that is up on BOF. You can also follow my podcast, The Batman Book Club, on Twitter at The Batman BC. There's been some episodes with Mr. Bill Jett Ramey here as a guest, and there are plans for him to return to cover some fun some fun stories for sure. And so before announcer Rachel takes us out, Bill, can you help me out here? That Batman on Film, it's authoritative, it's definitive.
Let me really summon up my old Texas, Southeast Texas accent. People won't believe that I had a thicker one at one time. And so it would be the dadgum original. How's that?
That works. Or wait, no. Booyah.
Booyah, yes.
You've been listening to the BOF Chronicles, the official history of Batman on Film. Follow host Ryan Lauer on Twitter @Lauer_Ryan. Follow Jett on Twitter @Batman on Film. For all of Team BOF, I'm announcer Rachel. Authoritative, definitive, the original. Batman on Film.